Okay, welcome to the hell that is restringing a Rickenbacker 12 string. This is one of my oldest guitars, as in one of the guitars I've owned for the longest time, since about 1982, and the guitar is from 1966. But when I acquired it, which was via a young man called Chris Gilby from the ATV publishing company that originally signed the church up in the 80s, I'd used a Burns 12 string on the first album, which I borrowed, and then it sort of became kind of obvious that the 12 string, electric 12 string, was something that would be incorporated into the band into the future. So on one of his business trips to Los Angeles, he came back with this, and I inherited it. So there's been a couple of problems with it. It's never let me down, but as you can see here on the machine heads, it has replacement machine heads here. These are the original machine heads, and these are replacement machine heads. And what that means is that sometimes, if while you're tuning it, the machine heads can get in the way of each other because these are too big. So that's one little problem. Also, you can see there's a break in the neck there, which started to happen. I had that filled with super strong glue once whilst getting it fixed in Sydney in Australia, and Clive, I think, was the luthier who did it, and he said, you know what, you see that, you think problem, with that glue in there, with this glue in there, that's never going to break. So although it has that problem, and although this guitar probably would lose its value based on these sort of imperfections, the guitar is an amazing guitar, and see, it's got a strap holder missing there because the hole is too big and it's fallen out. This is actually an amazing guitar, amazing sounding guitar. It's also got a brass nut on it, which is supposed to brighten it up, the jangle. And also, most Rickenbacker 12 strings, the standard Rickenbacker 12 string, is strung with thick string first, and I always like my 12 strings to be strung thin string first, so the nut had to be adjusted for that. The bridge saddles a little bit. So here we go. Things you need: a set of strings, which I've sorted out over here, a pick, a tuner. I'm using this little headstock tuner here, and a pencil. You're going to say, why does he need a pencil? String winder as well, of course, and they come with clippers. So here we go. Now the problem is with the Rickenbacker 12 string is that you can't get in to the strings to change them until you remove. You can't get into to change the low E until you remove the high A. So what I usually do is I usually take the low E off like this, just unwind it like this. These strings have been changed for ages, and I'm just working on a project, and I really need this guitar to be sparkly. Plus I'm going to work on another project soon where this guitar is going to be used. I always think it's a good idea to wrap the strings up once you've taken them off and not leave them all spangled over, because it's just easy to clear up. Little tip for tidy-minded people. So I've taken the octave E off. Now I've got to straighten this up, this machine head, because of the size, so I can wind this one. This is one of the problems. So now I put the string winder on this one, it's the octave A, and wind that one. There we go. I can feel that the strings are old. I can just feel it. They're just, it's not that they're particularly dirty or rusty or anything, but they're just old. Now you see how easily that came out of the tailpiece over here, and that is something I'll be talking to you about in a moment, because that's a little tricky little area. Okay, so now I've got access to the thick E string, so I'm gonna, and you see, because of these machine heads here, I have to get that in there and turn it between the machine heads, so they have to be in that position. So I'm doing it from the bottom, it's just easier. Okay. And the other thing is this string winder has two different size machine head shapes, so that you can use the smaller one for the smaller machine head, which makes that easier. Now the thing is, you've got to get this out of here, and the way to get that out of there is to put your fingers underneath it like this, keep on turning, turning, and then it'll pop out. Okay, and down here it's come out of its place in the tailpiece. Now the Rickenbacker tailpiece is a tricky little world, because it's not held by the body of the guitar. Some guitars, you, like a Fender Stratocaster, you string it and it's held in. But in this case, you have to make sure that the string is held into the tailpiece whilst you're winding it on up here. And this is where the pencil comes in, because it's very tricky to get it in there. You also have to remember to get it in the right channel. So there's a new set of 9-42s. Now I use a custom set for my guitar as well. So I use a wound 21 and then a 42, then a unwound 16 and a 32, an 11, a 24, a 9 and a 15, and 2 11s and 2 9s, which is not a set you can buy. You have to sort of take a 9-42 set and add to it, which is what I do. Now also, just keep that handy so you make sure you've got the right string. First one is a 42, which is brass. So what I'm going to do is unwind that. Now I have to get this string under here. This is the welcome to hell bit. Keep the string up like that. Now I've somehow got to get this into the tailpiece, and this is where the pencil comes in. So what I do with the pencil, the reason I use a pencil is so you don't damage the wood of the guitar here. I mean, you could use a little screwdriver, but then you'd be putting metal onto the wood, whereas if you use a pencil it's not really a problem. So what I've got to do is I've got to lift this string into the tailpiece, and you can see it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to put the string through this way to do it. You can do it this way because it will fit through that way. But the thing is, you've got to get this string in the right appropriate place in the tailpiece. So here I am with a torch, the guitar up like this, the string in my hand, a pencil in my hand as well, and so I can see where the channel is for this string. So here we go, that's in the channel, and I get the pencil. Now the pencil has fitted it into the channel. Now I can't let go. If I let go of this, it's just going to drop out. So I have to keep it tense, taut, straight, tight, all the way up to here as I come to the place where I'm going to put the string in the headstock and the machine head. So I cut it like two past, 2.5 machine heads past, but I'm holding it like that and not cutting it, because when I cut it I have to be holding it on this side, otherwise it will drop out of the tailpiece. So then I cut it, right, put that down, still keeping it tight, then I hold it here with my thumb, right, but first I have to get the hole in the right position in the machine head, and I put it in the hole like that, replace the thumb with the finger. Yes folks, this is really how you have to do it. And then push it through a little further, and when it gets there, which is half a wind, I can hold the string here. Still, this has to be tight. It has to be tight, otherwise you've got a big problem. And you can pull it up a little bit as you're turning, and that will then suddenly it's stayed in the hole, and I have this pyramid shape here like this, and then that string is now winding itself onto the machine head and not coming out of the tailpiece. Now once you get to that level where it's sort of a little bit round, find the smaller machine head on the string winder, smaller machine head shape on the string winder, because it's a smaller machine head, and then turn it like this. Keep on going. Don't lose confidence, because if you lose confidence and you stop this being tight, you are screwed, because then the string is no longer straight going into the barrel of the machine head, and then it's a nightmare to get in. There we go. Make sure it's in the nut here. And there you have it, one string on. There you have it. That is, I'll just get a pick. I don't know if, oh, there it is. Pick out my pocket, and then, and you hear the difference in strings. I'll just tune that one up so you can. Whoops. Okay, so that's the sound of the new string. This is the sound of the old string. You can hear how one's kind of a bit rattly, but it'll be fine. You can play it in and all the strings are on. But the sound of that versus the sound of this, and that's why it needs new strings. Okay, so that's the E string on. Now in this case, what I usually do is, because I've got one string on, the other reason that you have to do it this way is because if you take all the strings off, the top end of the tailpiece will slant to the side, because all the tension will be on one side of it, because it's also loose here. This piece, If you took the strings off, you just go dunk and you pick it off. There's just a little lip here that this holds it on. So not only is it the strings held on in a sort of a precarious way, but the actual tailpiece, the R tailpiece itself, the strings have to be on there. Everything has to be on there to make it stay where it's supposed to stay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take a couple of these other strings off, because I'm going to put all the top end strings, the bottom end strings on first. That is the A and the G. What did I say? The A and the G? I mean the A and the D and their octaves. So here we go, winding them up like this so they don't get all over the place. That's rubbish. And you know, sometimes you keep old strings because you might be able to use them as a spare or something, but not these. You wouldn't want to use these as a spare, because these are very old. Okay, so now I've got the same problem here with the machine head, see? And this is a bit of a dodgy machine head, you see this? See how it moves round like that? Right? So when you put this on there like that, it doesn't want to easily move because it's a bit wobbly. So I grab it like this. There we go. And then get my fingers underneath it. I hope you're not bored yet. There's a long way to go. It's almost like watching somebody on a tightrope. Is he going to be able to string the guitar? Will he be able to do it? There we go. This is a little tricky because of the machine head. Because of the machine head itself. That's going to come off in a sec. There we go. So then the A string, wind it up. Don't forget to recycle. And now the same with the D string, because the bottom of the guitar now has only one string on it, but that one string is holding the tailpiece in place, see? This is one end and this is the other. So same again, D string, little less of a problem here because there's only one machine head on each side. There's only one machine head on one side, nothing on this side, so it's a little easier to move. Plus the machine head is a little more stable. People talk about the 12-string guitar as being a tricky instrument to play because of all the strings and everything like that. And then there's the tuning, keeping it in tune. But you have to be very keen just from the point of view of stringing it. And it takes a while. So there's the D. So now we've got just one string on there. So now what I need is an A string, which will be the red one. There we go. Unwind the A string. Let's go this way, let's be really clever and not put it through this way. Let's go this way. Grab the torch, put it in your mouth, get your pencil, lift the guitar up, in the channel. Okay, now you see what happened here? So there's another thing you've got to be careful of. The string isn't in the saddle, it's caught on the edge of the tailpiece here. So you've got to be careful now, because if you push that down it just falls out of the channel as well. So you've got to be careful that you don't have to start again. So, right. So when you, there you go. Checked it with my little finger. So when I'm pushing it down there to be off the tailpiece but in the channel, just don't push it too hard, because if you push it too hard you just push it out of the channel. Right, so now, there we go. Put the torch off, save your battery. Same thing here, see I'm holding it tight, taut, I think is the word. Taking it up here, holding it tight all the time. And we've got to make sure it's really in there. Up here into the bridge saddle. The nut saddle. You see this? It's cut here. You do need to use, all arms, legs, teeth, eyesight, inner skills such as patience, confidence. Okay, so now I'm going to take that off so I can get to cutting it. So I'm going to cut it a little past, still holding it, remember, putting it there, holding it, but not cutting it yet because I've got to keep it in the tailpiece. Cut it, hold it again, there we go, still holding it taut, there, just making sure that the hole is in the right place in the barrel, into the hole, still holding it tight. See I'm holding it like this, I'm holding it really tight. Turn manually at first before you need the string winder. Make sure a bit of the string is coming through, then lift it up a little bit as you're turning it, and then lift it higher, and then as you're turning it, the tension keeps it in the hole and keeps it in the tailpiece. See this move? There we go. Turning the string manually still, and making sure these machine heads leave space for the string winder on either side of it. Remember, this is the dodgy machine head, so it's a little trickier. And turning seems to be working. Well, see, it came off, but that's alright. Just got to be patient with it and careful. Round and round it goes, and as it gets tighter on your finger, and you start letting it go down like this. It's going further and further down, and then I'm going to lift it up here because the position now needs to change to this position where the string is going over my fingers here. My finger is pushing against the neck and the tension is between the tailpiece and the barrel. Keep on turning, keep on turning, turning. It seems to have taken now. The string winder's staying on the dodgy machine head, which is a result. Now I've got to move my finger because I've got to put it in the nut saddle, if you call it, I don't know if you call it a nut saddle, but the nut anyway. And then it's in the bridge saddle there. And there you got it. So 2-0. Now you need the D string, which is the D4, which is the black one. There she blows. Yeah. Okay. Same thing, so you're 2 strings in. 2 strings in. So also, you got to kind of remember, I always forget to do this, but just keep it a little open, put it on the side so that when you've got all the strings and you're holding it up like this, that you don't have to go, oh God, where's the string winder? You've put it over here somewhere and you can't get to it. So put it in a place where it's accessible. Same thing, let's get the torch and the pencil. Hold the guitar like this, in to the saddle, pencil, there you go, that one went in pretty easy. And you've got to make sure, I don't know if you can see down here, You see in there that the string is at the top here. See this gap? Gotta make sure the string is at the top, because if it's lower down it might slip out at some point. So here we go again. Holding it tight. Whoa. Just let it a bit loose then, but it managed to stay in. Now, here we go. Just get that hole maybe sorted first. String. Hold it tight. String winder. You know, a little bit past, so you've got a bit of wind on it. Hold it, don't hit it yet. Cut, replace. So you're swapping hands all the time. You're always swapping hands. Into the nut, into the hole, around like this, turning, make sure it's going through alright, and round, it's taken, still keeping it tight because of the tail piece. String winder, smaller machine head. Okay, so holding up the string like this, then you can get into it. I might just put the tuner back on there to do this. Put that on. I can tune it to the approximation of the D note. Then I'm going to start stringing. Actually, it's a bit tricky. I've got to take it more manually first. Yep. You see it's going down slowly but surely. And then, yeah, I've got to take a bit more because I have to get some leverage here by being able to put my finger there. Right, and then when I put my finger there, then I've got more grip. Then start doing it there. And this one works really easily because there's nothing in the way. And lift it high. Remember, always keeping it tight all the way. This is the other position. It's like yoga for the hands. One there. Put it in the bridge saddle. Make sure it's here tight. Don't let it get loose here. Make sure it's in the bridge saddle. There we go. And that's tight enough for now. Okay, so now whoops, turning the wrong key. It's a good trick, turning the wrong key. Everybody does that. Trying to put one string in tune while you put the other string completely out of tune, so you're in a much worse off situation than you were when you started. Right, so we got so you got the first three thick strings on. Now if you look over here, you see you've got the underneath strings on there, and for those pegs, for these three, now you have to put them on for these three, which is the top three, and this is a bit easier. So you start with this one and then you work your way up towards it. So this one is the only wound octave string on the guitar, and this is a 21 wound. So unravel that, and back to your favourite bit, the torch and the pencil. Make sure you disinfect the torch before you put it in your mouth. There we go, in like that, in, and that's it. It's a little trickier, this one, because it's in the corner, the furthest corner, so it's harder to get to with the pencil. Okay, Now, so this is one you really don't want to. This is a bit awkward. Ooh, holding it tight like that. Now playing it, moving the guitar body. Just make sure once you've got it in that position that it is properly in. I think it is. Yeah. Bring it up to the top here. String winder. And scissors. You've got to learn how to swap hands. I think I'd make a good magician actually when I think about it. The sleight of hand. So I'm going a little bit past the machine head here, maybe to the third one, just a little bit past maybe. So we go 2.5 generally. Hold it, cut it, be brave. It's like being a surgeon. At some point you're going to have to take the scalpel and go into the patient's chest, and if you don't do it they're going to die. So you just got to do it. Now you got to get this in there the right way round, so you have to go to the left first like this, holding it round like that, everything whilst you're doing this. And I tend to do it underneath the end of the string like that, wound it round a couple of times. Still got this position here, with this crazy position with my hand where I'm holding the strings. If you come over here, look at this, I'm holding the strings like this, right, and pushing it down there. And I've got the easier machine heads because they're bigger and not in the way of the other ones at the moment. Put it into the nut. It's in the bridge saddle down there. You've always got to be checking backwards and forwards like this, and turn the tuner on. And there you have your octave G. Let's get the pick off the floor. There you go. And then what I like to do is bend this down. If you come over here, bend this down like this, so you don't get a prick in your thumb and bleed all over your guitar. Although sometimes that helps with creativity. Okay, so we've done that. Now we're to the octave A, which is an unwound 16. This was a 21 wound. This is an unwound 16. Don't ask me how I came upon these string gauges. I just did. Now in this case you want to put it in between these two strings, because if you put it on this side you're in the wrong place, right? So you've got to put it in between here, like that, into the channel of the tailpiece, like that. Disinfected torch. I can see better, I can sort of see what I'm doing from here this time, so I can guide that in with the pencil like that. Done. Stretch it out all the way up here. String winder and clipper, and that goes again. You can sort of go a couple past, hold it, and then press down on it to cut it, and change hands, put it in the nut. Whoops, one thing I've got to do is get this turned the right way so that you can see the hole there, so you can put it in at that angle, right? So put it in the nut like this, and then you've got to be brave again, because you can see there's a little bit of the string going through on the other side there. Can you see that? Then you've got to bend the string, woof, round like that. Alright, now you might want to be really brave and take it around twice, yeah, like that. back to our favourite hand position. Start toning as John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater Revival might say. Got to start toning. There you go. And then into the nut, into the bridge saddle, and then as you gets tight, pull your finger out and into the tuner. Octave. Right, there we go. And you can see what happened here. You see how the machine heads are here. What happened then was is that the position that this one wanted to be in tune clashed with this one, so that one was in the way for me to when I was tuning it. So what you have to hope for is that that position with this one there, see it clashes, you can hear it hitting it, isn't the position it needs to be in when you're tuning the guitar properly in the end. So, and here we go, remember this is a nasty one. If this one gets in your finger, it will be painful and you will bleed a lot. So try and push that down so that it's not in the way and doesn't prick you, because you've still got work to do. Okay, to the D octave, and that's an 11. Here it is. I didn't show you that because it was a GHS string, and I'm not sure it really matters that much between the D'Addarios, which I like to use, and the GHS strings, which are kind of, I guess, a bit of a cheaper brand, but somebody once told me, they're all made in the same factory, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, now this one, yeah. This string has got a few rust spots on it, so I'm going to discard that string. I'm going to find another 11. This would be okay as a spare, I guess, in an emergency, but I'd really like to put on a string, so I'm going to open a packet of D'Addarios here. Yeah, so back to D'Addarios, there's 11. So unravelling a D'Addario, and that doesn't have any rough parts on the string, which will be better. So here we go again. This time, because I can see when you're doing these strings you can't see properly, but when you're doing the strings in the middle it's easier to see, so you might not have to turn the guitar up on an angle like that, but the torch is still helpful, and the pencil's still helpful. So put that in, I can see where it's going. Comes out the other side, if you understand me with the torch in my mouth. Like that. Lift it up. There we go. Don't let it catch. There you go. Make sure you can secure it in with your little finger in that position because there's room. Same thing again. Stretch it all the way up. Maybe I'll take that off for a sec, just because it might be in the way. Cutters. You don't need to go, I just always cut a little bit off this, but you don't need to cut much off this one because it's about the right length anyway. In. This hole is in the right position, as you can see, facing like on an angle. In, round, twice, trying to get it underneath the bit of string that's sticking out. Finger in the position. Yeah, where are we there? Nice. Working. Oops, did something go funny there? No, you see, then you got to go, oh, did something go funny there? Then you might need the torch just to check. That's right. There we go. There we go. What's happened is that string's come down a bit. That string has bent down a bit, the bit that's sticking out, so it was getting on the wrong side of the string. Then that's in there, 11. Whoops, and that's dropped it out of the bridge saddle. So you'll get that back in there. Put that back on there. You can push that down now so it's not in the way to pierce your skin. Right, tuning all the strings up so that they're an approximation. Obviously I have to check it all again at the end because everything stretches. There you got it. You got your first new strings. So I hear that rattling and buzzing sound. See, whenever you use this guitar acoustically it sounds like that, but when you put it through an amp that sound completely disappears, so it's not a problem. Now, so then you're faced with this little issue, and there you are with all your lovely strings and wanting to do the same thing. So what I do is I take off the top 3, which is the low G, like that. This is always a tricky one for making you bleed. The one of the 2 B's, and of course the B strings are the same as each other. They're not octaves. They're 2 thinner strings, both the same. So you have one of the B's, and you can take off an E as well, like that. Oof, these, you can feel how old these strings are. It's been a while since I obviously used this guitar seriously. Although we must have used it on the Afterlife album. We used it on Show, but maybe the strings have got old since then, as that was a while ago. Okay, so wrap them all together, you see there, so make it nice and easy to dispose of them. So now I'm going to take off the octave G as well, because now I have to, now I've got access to all these strings. Now I have to replace all these strings first before I can put those top strings back on. So in a normal, I guess a light string electric 12 string set, this string is usually an 8, and I always thought that was just a little bit too thin, so change this. I always put a 9 on here. I'm not actually quite sure what a 9 to 42 12 string set is, but there is a couple of gauges that I don't. Oh, that one just flew away somewhere. There it is. there were a couple of gauges that I changed, and that's why I sort of turned it into a custom set. But this one was definitely changed every time, because this was always too light in the lighter set. So I put a 9 on there. There it is, 9. Boom. Get that on first. Same thing, it's in the middle of the tail piece, so should be okay. Ooh, yeah, I don't like the feel of that one. It's got some sort of rough patches on it, so I'm going to change that string for another one. Okay, it's in. You also got to remember that the Rickenbacker tailpiece is designed for the strings to be the other way round, so there's more space for the thicker string in the space where we're trying to put the thin string, and vice versa. I mean, it's not really a problem, but it wouldn't be designed like that if the guitar was strung the other way from you know, from factory setup. Okay, string, hole, string, bit of a cut, don't let go, a bit harder not to let go with this one because it's so thin, bit of a tricky string to deal with, you can't quite see it. In fact, I can use the torch just to check what I'm doing here. Oops, turn the wrong way, it's the right way, push it through a bit. And this whole time you've got to be aware that you have to be pulling tight on it, because if not, you have a problem the other end and then you've got to start again. There you go. And possibly if you do have to start again because you let it slip, then you have to do it with a new string, because if the string has started to be wound and fallen out this way, you'll find it impossible to get it into the hole here. So it's a bit of a nightmare. So now you've got to get into your yoga hand position again, as you actually, I might just keep the torch on for a minute. Make sure and turn it the right way. That way, yeah. There you go. Also using the smaller side. There you go. Now, because this string is you can see here it's kind of out of the way of this one, so it's not that difficult to get this string on, even though this one's slightly above it. So what I generally do is I generally put that 9 on first, and then I go to this one and put this one on next, and then put the B string on last. So just tune that up, put the tuner back on. I hope this is remaining interesting for everybody. Pick, there it is. Always feels like it's going to break and it's going too far. So there it is, that's the octave G in. Okay, so now I'm going to take off the this E string, and hopefully this G string is holding the balance of the tailpiece in place, so nothing's going to move. I mean, you know, the thing is, this is how I do it. I'm sure there's people out there with Rickenbacker 12 strings who are going, no, no, surely that's not the way to do it. But, you know, you got to work out your own way with something as tricky as this. So when people buy themselves a Rickenbacker 12 string, you think, I'd really like a Rickenbacker 12 string. They don't realise what they're getting into. Okay, wind the string. Da-da-da. Let's find another D, another 9, because this is a 9 gauge again. So this one is going to be, you've got to remember also to make sure you put it in the right place. So the G is in the top one, the low G is going to be there, the B string is there, the second B string is going to be there, the next E string is going to be there, and the last E string is going to be there. So you've got to make sure you're going in the right place. Again, it's easy to see here, and nice access for the pencil, so just put it in like that. There we go. Cutters. The old which side of me are the cutters on syndrome. There we go. Take it past a little bit. That might be a bit too far. I wouldn't want to do this with bad eyesight, or in my case I wouldn't want to do this without glasses. Got to get the hole facing the right way. Started to need the torch now for these thinner strings to see exactly what I'm doing, even though I'm in a room with lots of light. In, hold, twist, push, twist, push a bit more, lift it up as you twist, and you should be okay, like that. Now I can wind the string. Yeah, as you eat. Right, so now onto the B string. So we've got to put a B string on here, and that's an 11. Here's an 11, sorry, here's an 11. Unwinding. If you ever feel like unwinding, this is not the place to unwind. So you've got to make sure you put the right string on in the right bridge, in the right tailpiece. So it's the second one, third one, 1, 2, 3, in there. Whoops, not quite got it. There it is. In, up and in, like that. Check it with your little finger. So I'm going to keep the torch because these strings are getting thinner and harder to see. Move that. Look at this move. I feel like one of those craftsmen, you know, and you see those ancient Greek men and women sitting on beaches fixing fishing nets with all these amazing delicate skills. In, okay, round, push, no, something's up here, hang on, something there, right. You see what happened here? Didn't get that quite right and it started bending before I was ready. So in that case what you do is, because you've got enough, because you've got enough slack, you can then take the string, take the cutter, and you can cut it off at the bend like that. Just cut it off at the bend and start again. Right, see that? Try and put the little bit of metal in a place where it's not going to get in your toe when you're walking around in your bedroom, if that's where you do these kind of things. And try again, because as soon as it's bent it becomes difficult. So I'll try again. In, turn manually, there it is, push a little more, there we go, lift it up, yes, because what happens is when you put it down through the hole there, it goes through the hole and it goes into the wood beyond the barrel, and then it can get stuck on there, and then you can be turning it and then it goes dung, another little area of problems. Okay, I'm going to try and string wind that from here. See, it's an awkward position as well. Because of the machine heads. Because of the machine heads, it gets in the way and bangs against the machine head. So I'm going to do this manually, it'll be quicker rather than messing around with that. This is almost like a cooking lesson, isn't it? It's almost like a cooking lesson. Or we had this program in the 60s and 70s in England called Blue Peter. And Blue Peter was, they always had, you know, how to make things, you know, out of glue and paper. And here we go. So it's got the B on there, and then here we go. So there you go. So now we've got those, and now we can put the top three strings on, and this will go so quick you'll just go so what I'll do is I'll do the I think I might do the E's first. Okay, on the last part of the exercise, string in, there we go. Easier again from this side, all the way up, cut, hold, in. Now you got to turn it, now you've got to spread it round the machine head the right way. But of course you see also now you've got the ones underneath done, so you can do the ones over the top. So this time it's this way round. Under the string, you're still holding it here. I'm even going to give it 3 around. The whole time I was doing that, turning it around, I was still holding it taut here. Otherwise, trouble. There we go. Approximately to E. Now the B string, which is an 11. Donk. I think you can get flavoured torches for just this exercise. This is vanilla, my favourite. Okay. And there. Just ask for a vanilla torch that does SOS, you can get them anywhere. Take that off. String winder. Hold. Cut. Get the machine head in the right place. Angle. Angular Merkle, as I call it. Round once. Whoops, that was a bit lucky. I let it go a bit slack there. Twice round, that'll do. Getting a bit nervous about this one. Big wide machine heads though, so it's easier to get it on. Easy to wind it onto the peg. It's those little ones underneath which are the trouble. There we go. Whoops, see the string just fell off. Now there you go, there's not a good thing, see that? Got to loosen it again. Fell off. Put it back into the bridge, into the nut I mean. Make sure it's in the bridge as well. Yep, now it's fine. Put that back on. So I always feel it's good to sort of tune them up to the approximate note. Oops, am I changing the wrong one? Yes, I am changing the wrong one. Right, and believe it or not, there's just one string left. Also remember this thing, don't pierce your finger on this. Push it down. You see those people with the guitars where the things are all like, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm the tidiest person in the world, but there we go. Now I'm going to put a 15 on here. This one seems to be an Ernie ball for some reason. Didarios, some of these strings you go into a shop and say, I need a 15 unwound and I need a 21 wound, and they go, what? And they just don't have them, so sometimes you have to take whatever they've got. So this is a 15 wound, a 15 unwound. There we go, nice and easy to slot in there. Oh. But you know what? Again, that's a dodgy string. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just see if I've got a better one. Yeah, it feels a bit better. So, whoops. There we go. It's a tailpiece. Where would you be without your pencil? That's what I say. Look at that. This is a, it says the consortium, which I presume is some business. I don't know where this came from, but it's an HB, and apparently if you want to string a Rickenbacker 12 string, it's HB or nothing. all the way up here. Let's take that off again. Torch, cutters, in, round, round again, round again. Oh, God, nerve-wracking. Oops, got the wide one there. John Noakes would be proud of me. If you don't know who John Noakes is, he was what's the other guy's name? Peter Purvis, was it? John Noakes, Peter Purvis and Valerie Singleton. It's my generation of Blue Peter. They'd be so proud. And then bend that in, because that's a dangerous one. That's one you do not want in your finger, because that's really, really thick, but still able to pierce your skin. Get the thing on there. Turn that off now. I can turn that this way. Wound that a bit too tight. It's alright. See, those strings have really gone down already. Stretch. That one, oof. Okay, so the thing is now you have to, like any guitar, you've got to stretch the strings in one by one. That's one thing you can't have, a guitar that's out of tune, ugh, especially a 12 string. Just sounds terrible. Just stretch these in a little bit. That G is so tight, it makes you think, oh my god, is it really good? Just give them a little bit of a stretch to start with. I'm actually going in the studio tonight to play this guitar. We tried it on a track and the strings really needed changing, so that's why we're doing this exercise now. It's not just because we thought it'd be interesting, well, I don't know if interesting is the word, educational perhaps, to show people how to tune a Rickenbacker 12 string and tune a Rickenbacker 12 string, but I'm actually doing it for a purpose. I'm in the studio tonight and need this guitar. So and then you've got to do a lot of that to get the string stretched in. A bit more pulling on them. Usually until they go a bit sharp. But here that one, ooh, see, that one's like way got takes a bit more time than just one or two stretches and some boisterous guitar playing to get it ready. It's always a dilemma for bands going on stage with guitars with new strings, and they get under the lights and it's not stretched in properly, and you get on stage and you pick your trusty guitar up, the one you know and love, and never is a problem, new strings, and it sounds all terribly out of tune. So so just check this last one. Just pulling on it like that. I just like to do these fast rhythm things just to give it some just banging into the guitar. That gives it a little bit of, you know, that helps sort it out. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you for watching. I hope it was worth the wait to get it from where it was to where it is now, which is usable, because before the strings were like dunk, even though it was a 12 string. But it's a bit of a to-do, stringing a Rickenbacker 12 string, getting it in tune, getting the strings on it at all. But it's well worth the trouble and well worth learning how to do it, because it's a beautiful instrument with a unique sound. So thanks for watching.